Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Monday Musings-Danny SportsWrap. It's brought to you by Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Going to have lunch with Jeff here in the next couple days. As a matter of fact, why don't you go see Jeff Dillon and his crew and get all your help you need for your HVAC needs. It's a long, hot summer, but of course, there's winter just around the corner. So all kinds of things you can get updated on, check on, and do it with a family-friendly and efficient and cost-effective way of doing things at Dillon's Heating and Cooling. And listen to the spot that's coming up, and you'll get more information about that directly from Jeff. And I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I certainly did. My two daughters are in town. My younger daughter on the way back to New York. She has been staying with her sister out in California during the times of COVID when her acting school was shut down. The two girls were in town for a celebration of life for their late uncle, and that was a wonderful ceremony. And it's great to have them in town, and their boyfriends are here, and it's just been a little great family time for me. But of course, they're doing stuff all on their own too, so there's plenty of time for sports. And we've got our plate full with that, to say the least, as we've got everything from the Royals not doing much at the trade deadline to their weekend in Toronto. We also have lots of football to talk about. Well, we have training camp football to talk about, and I'm going to pretty much let Andy Reid do the talking for that, because there isn't. The only really spectacular news that ever happens in training camp basically is of a bad variety. You're just hoping that bad things don't happen, that people don't get hurt, that there aren't holdouts, there aren't things like that. And so far, that is totally the case with the Kansas City Chiefs. The only real issue hanging over them is whether Tyrann Mathieu is going to sign himself a contract extension. He puts out cryptic tweets every now and then, but that situation seems like it'll play out successfully, as most of them have. Of course, the Olympics are on, and track and field was revving up last night, and there was Olympic golf and all kinds of things to talk about, and a disappointing evening on Saturday night for Sporting Kansas City. Overall, things are great for Sporting Kansas City, but the odd upset comes up, and somehow it seems in the form of Dallas FC on a fairly regular occasion. So we'll talk about that here from Peter Vermes and a whole lot more. It's coming up here on Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, and it's brought to you by Dillon's Heating and Cooling. Time to spend a few minutes with my good friend Jeff Dillon from Dillon's Heating and Cooling. And Jeff, what differentiates your company from others in the industry?
Plain and simple, we're honest. We have integrity, and we're going to do things right the first time. There's way too many companies out there that lie, cheat, hide things from the homeowner or customer, and we're not about that. It's kind of funny sometimes. I actually am so honest with some people, it kind of surprises them, but sometimes it's good for business, sometimes it's bad for business, but ultimately it's the kind of business that I want to run, is an honest one.
And that family way of treating things is part of your slogan, and it's also part of one of your great features that you offer to customers.
Our slogan is like family. Our most popular maintenance plan is called the Family Plan. It's very similar to a lot of ones out there. The little tweak that we do to ours, 1% off for every 2 years. They have a continued maintenance plan with us. If they have a maintenance plan for 10 years, then we give them 5% off, no questions asked.
You can find out more about Dillon's Heating and Cooling and all their great range of services at dillonsheatingandcooling.com. That's Dillon's with an S. The phone number, 913-214-1343. Let's have a brief conversation with David Schmidt from Pro Millennial. David, what differentiates you from other financial organizations?
I would say the passion we have for seeing our clients succeed is probably paramount to what we do here. There's no joy greater than watching a client accumulate wealth. I had a client that I've had for many years was able to buy his dream warehouse. Nothing too extravagant, but we had a savings plan in place and was able to see him fulfill his dreams.
And what else motivates you in this industry?
Well, lately it's been finding out inconsistencies in the marketplace, ferreting out some more than questionable ideas out there, that what we're seeing with Bitcoin and a few of these other cryptocurrencies right now. I'm of the opinion where if it's untraceable, it really needs to be regulated in a big way right now.
To get more information and advice from David, visit promillennial.com or call 816-221-7775. That's 816-221-7775. We're here once again with Dr. Brad Woodall from Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Springtime, good weather's finally here. People want to stay active, and it's your job to make sure that they can stay active, and be healthy.
Danny, we see a lot of not just weekend warriors, but people that every day are having that want to get back to activity. Whether you're starting with walking, jogging, or maybe that first 5K of the year, we want to help you out. We specialize in taking care of all ages, from kids all the way to grandmas and grandpas, but absolutely specialize in getting you back to full function and keeping you in great shape.
So in short, how do we go about doing that?
The first thing is to schedule a consultation with one of our doctors and therapists so we can see how you move and how you're supposed to move. Based on our assessment, we can put together a short treatment plan and a set of goals to help you both feel better, function better, and most importantly, stay better for this year and many years to come.
Learn more at asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and our weekend started up with well, it kind of ended as it started with the trade deadline coming and going, and even though a last-second deal did pop up for the Kansas City Royals in the form of Jorge Soler going to the Atlanta Braves for a high-A pitcher, it still was a relatively quiet trade deadline activity, despite what was considered frenetic, exciting, epic, all-around baseball. It certainly wasn't for the Royals, who earlier in the week had sent Danny Duffy to the Los Angeles Dodgers for a player to be named later. The Royals are presented with a pool of players, and they're going to get to evaluate those players as time goes on and select one in return for Danny Duffy, who, hey, may or may not pitch for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's on the IL. It seems like they figured that he did. Otherwise, they wouldn't trade for him. But anyway, we'll see how that plays out. But in the end, Date Moore had said, well, he said on more than one occasion that he wants to be transactional, but then in the days leading up to the trade deadline, he talked about needing to be overwhelmed by a deal. He openly talked about the fact that his veteran players who are signed up to contracts that extend beyond this year, like Whit Merrifield and the suddenly Mikey Minor, that's become a thing all of a sudden, that he's called Mikey Minor, and Carlos Santana, that he wants them around and would have to be overwhelmed by a deal. Of course, in the end, he wasn't, and these players are expected now to be talked of in terms of sort of mentoring, I guess, next year. And I think when they were signed, the hope was during the off-season last year that the Royals would be building forward this year and then contending in 2022. Well, now it just seems like 2022 is another building year. So why they weren't more open to perhaps loosening up as far as sending Whit Merrifield in particular, maybe. He seemed to be the one who had the most interest, or Scott Barlow or players like that, somewhere to boost up the farm system, and not just that, but also create some other chips that you might have to make some deals on down the road. But the Royals have always been pretty conservative in that regard. It paid off for them once. The only time they really went after it was the year they won the World Series, and maybe if they're in that position again, they will. But in the interim, they seem to have no real interest in doing that whatsoever, and they didn't. And I can't say that I'm not a little bit disappointed that it isn't more active for the Royals. Maybe just part of it is the fact that you want to feel like there is some inertia there. You don't want a team doing something just for the sake of doing something. But when so much goes on and so many people are either taking risks or deciding to rebuild their team or deciding it's time that a certain thing has played out, for the Royals to sort of play a pat hand is a little bit disappointing. No question about that. So that's basically the no news for the Kansas City Royals. And then, of course, there was on the field as Toronto returned to their home field in Toronto. And, well, if the Royals had wanted to show that they shouldn't be standing pat, they certainly didn't go out and prove it over the weekend in Toronto, that's for sure, as they were wiped out in 3 straight games. It was basically just a party for the Blue Jays. They won all 3 games handily. The Royals putting up a little bit of a fight on Friday, and that was probably the highlight of the weekend for the Royals because Daniel Lynch backed up a great pitching performance in his previous start with a good, solid one against a very, very difficult Blue Jays lineup. But the Royals fell in that game, and then they basically didn't even show a pulse in the last 2 games of the series. They had come into the series with 8 wins in their last 9 games. I hope, as I said before, that didn't affect the thinking of the Kansas City Royals and that they were looking at that squad and saying, well, that's kind of what we are. Well, it showed more that against quality opposition, this version of the Royals, the one we saw over the weekend against the Blue Jays, is more what the Royals are like, and that's unfortunate. And the Royals drop back to 16 games below 500, and we will see if they can avoid a slide right now because they've got more difficult games coming up on the road. After today's day off, they'll play against the White Sox, and then they'll go to St. Louis. So the Royals, who have been so topsy-turvy this year with big losing streaks and pretty big winning streaks at times. They did win 6 in a row recently. They've done that a couple of times, but they've usually followed that up with another swoon. They'll try to avoid that after a really lost weekend in Toronto, a weekend that started with them not doing very much at all as far as the trade deadline is concerned. And, of course, the focus is changing in Kansas City sports. Let's talk some Kansas City Chiefs. They took the day off from practicing on Sunday, and they seemed happy with the work that they've done. As I mentioned in the open, when you're at training camp, the one thing you're looking for is players to stay healthy and for there not to be controversies of any other kind, like in Green Bay or other places like that. And so far, so good for the Kansas City Chiefs. Basically, you get your full dose of stories about young wide receivers are maybe making an impression, or feature stories about guys who are trying to rebuild their careers, like Mike Hughes, who came from Minnesota. And basically, it's a time to talk about yoga and Pilates for Chris Jones and things like that. But all the work seems to be getting done in a good way. The weather's been good. It's been really hot, but then cooled off just a bit over the weekend. And, of course, the best day maybe of all to practice would have been Sunday, but the Chiefs didn't practice. They did practice up and through Saturday, however, and Andy Reid's probably best suited to be the one who tells you how things are going.
Well, we're doing good. It was great work today, as it has been for the last 4. We've had a variety of elements that we've been able to work with. Today was great because we got to work with a wet ball, and you got to have a little bit more focus, especially going into day 4 when you're a little bit tired. And the guys, I thought, did a good job with that, with the rain and so on. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah.
Given what you just said about these last 4 days of practice, what's your excitement level you feel from the, I almost said troops, from the players to put the pads on Tuesday?
Yeah, so listen, I mean, they're working through this and they're working through this and doing a nice job as they go with it. But inevitably they look forward to getting the pads on down the road. You don't hear much of that because they're glad to be out here and doing what they're doing. And the young guys have done a nice job, Nate. I mean, they've stepped up, I thought, and they've been working their tail off. It's been a good exercise with very few mistakes. And so you look at that now, that becomes important. The great part is with those the young linemen, the defensive line helps them out. Those veteran D linemen help them out by talking to them on certain things. The veteran offensive linemen help them out.
You had 3 rookies with your ones on the offensive line today. How important is experience when you're going to be deciding who's starting and who's not? How important is that?
Yeah, so listen, I've started a number of rookies in there, and they've done a good job. But yeah, sure, you'd like to have experience, but again, I've had success with rookies too, so it's kind of individually based and how they step up and communicate and how willing the veteran players are to share with them and experiences. And then they're fortunate to have Andy, who's been doing, played in the league for 14 years, been coaching forever, so is their coach.
Just how much of the running sets are new versus what you guys have done in the past, and how has that looked so far?
Yeah, so the first couple of days we did all pass, really. And then we've worked some running here the last couple practices. And just to kind of get into the swing, it's tough to do without pads on, so the guys have to work it a little bit where we keep bodies off the ground. It becomes important. But listen, we've got to do a better job running the ball, and I've got to give the guys an opportunity to do that, right? So, and then defending the run, you practice it. You have an opportunity to work to defend it. So it's a positive on both ways.
The Chiefs back on the practice field today, and of course they do morning practices all the time, and they have some events coming up on Thursday or Friday, rather. There's a Chiefs Alumni Day, and just check out your Chiefs schedule if you're interested in going up to St. Joe and sort of seeing the return to normalcy as far as football is concerned for the Kansas City Chiefs, and that's the way things are rolling, as Andy Reid would say, and they're rolling, as I said, with no big news, no big flare-ups, and that is a very, very good thing for the team that is the favorite in the National Football League and trying to redeem themselves from the disappointing finish to the 2020 season, which, of course, came in 2021. And when you're playing in the following calendar year, that's always a good thing anyway, but the Chiefs getting rolling up in St. Joe. Lots more still to come. The other kind of football was played at Children's Mercy Park on Saturday night, and it did not go the way of Sporting Kansas City. We'll be checking that out, some Olympics and some other notes as well. Coming up next, it's Monday Musings-Danny Sports Wrap right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, and on Mondays, it's always brought to you by Dillon's Heating and Cooling.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Michael Barber, the CEO and founder of Microlight Corporation of America, the world leaders in laser therapy. And Michael, tell us a little bit about your product.
Our device is using a particular wavelength and power to reduce pain and swelling. My background is surgical lasers, but I've been involved with this particular device now for about the last 20 years, actually.
And I know that it works because I've had it
There
used
you go.
on me as well. And tell us about the relationship you have with your company and Canaway.
It's what I call a strategic business relationship in that Canaway, the leader in the field of the cannabinoid systems and CBD oil, but our device used in conjunction with Canaway CBD oil gives a better pain relief outcome for the patient.
And if you want to get that pain relief outcome like I did, you can reach their local representative, Sherry McCants, at 515-208-6312. That's 515-208-6312.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn for the 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you so much for supporting local restaurants, especially through this pandemic. And you know what? We're almost through it. At the 23rd Street Brewery, we have brought in a few more tables. You can wear a mask if you want, or not. It's your choice. Other than that, we're open 11:30 every single day. So come see us at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence.
Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing here. Well, it stormed. The last thing you want to mess with is dealing with it, but now you're stuck with dozens of people knocking on your door telling you everything they think you want to hear. Do not trust your biggest asset to a company that lies dormant until it storms, only to change their name and wither away after their substandard work is complete. Call Easton Roofing for a free roof evaluation. 913-257-5426. 913-257-5426. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Welcome back to Monday Musings, Danny Sports Wrap. It's presented by Dillon's Heating and Cooling. They are one of my fine sponsors, and anybody out there who has a business or know somebody who has a business who'd like to join my fine roster of sponsors, that would be great. Keep the engine rolling here at DannyClinkscale.com and their Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And if you want to help out a little bit as well, there are some other things to consume. There's some commercial-free content over at patreon.com/DannyClinkscale, some exclusive content also. You can check that out as well. Well, let's check out Sporting Kansas City, and certainly it was A bit unusual, and a juxtaposition of the unusual, which is that Sporting lost for the first time after an 11-game home unbeaten streak. They hadn't lost at home since September of last year. And the surprisingly common thing that has occurred is that Dallas has beaten Sporting 5 out of 6 games and drawn the others. So they're now 5-0-1 in their last 6 matches against Sporting. And really, Dallas, which is best known right now for grooming players and then sending them off to other countries for a fee, hasn't really been that strong a team, but they came out flying against Sporting in the game on Saturday night, scored a goal within 3 minutes, as Dallas would score in both the early moments of the first half and the second half. The first half goal just 3 minutes in by Paston Pomykal, and that was his first goal of the year. A very talented young player who's been hurt by injuries. And Dallas kept the foot on the gas for about 20 to 30 minutes. And if you'll hear Peter Vermes upcoming, it took a while for his team to find their footing. In the end, he was pretty praiseworthy of his team, but Dallas was on the front foot for at least 20 minutes and maybe more than that. And once Sporting got things in tow and started to get some possession, they were a dangerous club throughout many portions of the rest of the game. But early in the second half, Dallas, which was great and quick and alert on the counterattack, did so again as Jesus Ferreira scored, and both of the goals that were scored were from outside the box and really great strikes, maybe given a little bit too much space by the Kansas City defenders. And really, Tim Melia did not have much of a chance on either. He made a few fine saves, too, that kept Sporting sort of in touch. And Sporting had a goal waved off by Yadi Kinda for offsides, which it was in the 72nd minute. And then Sporting Kansas City struck with Johnny Russell on the header in the 85th minute. And there were a lot of attacking moments for Sporting Kansas City in the back end of the game. And actually, once the game got past the 30-minute mark, they were pretty active all around, as you'll hear Peter Vermes talk about. But in the end, Dallas was able to fend off Sporting Kansas City. Dallas gets the win 2-1. Sporting missed a chance to get atop the Western Conference because Seattle had actually lost earlier in the day on Saturday. But a disappointing evening. Hey, you're not going to win every single game at home, and Sporting had done a good job of that for quite a long time. And Peter Vermes weighs in on a lost night on Saturday night at Children's Mercy Park.
I think you got to give Dallas credit. I think that they played with some real urgency in the game. They were clean and crisp in their build-up. I don't think we expected the game to be as fast as it was for some reason. I don't know why. It's a start. So the goal got scored, and then we were in the game. And after that, from that point on, we were in the game. Look, they scored two good goals. We were all over. Obviously, you guys saw the game. We were all over them and around the box. We just couldn't find it. We just couldn't find it. It's a great goal by Johnny, but we couldn't find it at the end. But I have no complaints about our guys other than we just got to be ready for the start of the game. That was it. I'll make sure that happens next time. But yeah, tough just because I thought we put everything in it. I think in the first half we were a little bit late on some situations. I thought second half we were much better. Because we made some adjustments at halftime, but it was more of just a decision and a commitment level. But that got fixed pretty quick.
Peter, you had a knack for most of the season for getting points out of losing positions, but obviously tonight you weren't able to. Does a result like this amplify that you want your guys to start with quality right from the beginning more consistently?
Well, of course. I don't know if it amplifies it. It takes on the same kind of emphasis. It doesn't change, right? You don't want to start in the hole. So we don't want to, and I don't think the guys plan on it or try to do it that way. It's just today. I think when the game started, we were maybe in third gear and they were in fifth gear to start. And even like the pace of the ball, just the movement of the ball, us moving with the game, we just weren't there. And so they scored. But after that, like I said, the game changed. And I think the guys realize that they know it. It's not like they don't. They know it. And I think they came out in the second half and they were – I think after the goal they were completely different personally.
Have you been able to learn anything about the identity of your team in these three matches without Busio and Polito?
We've played with those guys before. We have a group that can find a way, and I still think that we're a dangerous team. We we battle games. We find ways to win. Usually tonight we didn't, but it's not for a lack of effort. It's not for a lack of chances. It's not for a lack of creativity. It's we're still in it. So from that point of view, it was still like us, and it's probably one of those times where we didn't find our way back. We're close, but we didn't find our way back to getting in the game.
Sporting is in a very, very busy stretch of time as they actually played that game Saturday. It's the start of a 7-game stretch, including starting Wednesday, 6 matches in 18 days. They'll play on the road against LAFC on Wednesday, and they'll do so as the second-place team after that disappointing 2-1 loss to Dallas FC, and a team that right now has Kansas City's number. And I know that Sporting KC will really be fired up the next time around when they play Dallas and try to put an end to that little schneid against that particular club. That was local disappointment as far as soccer was concerned, but there was national disappointment as well, as the U.S. women's national team on early today, was knocked out of gold medal contention as they lost to Canada by a count of 1-0. Jessie Fleming's second half penalty, enough for Canada to win the game and move on to the gold medal game. It was the first time in 20 years that the United States had lost to Canada. It ends up being a disappointing tournament for them as they lost a game earlier on 3-0 to 3-0 in the tournament, and then they lose this one, and something just a little bit was missing, and it shows how difficult it is to win the World Cup and then win the Olympics in the same cycle. It has been something that has evaded a lot of different teams, and it evaded the U.S. the last time around, too, as they failed to reach the gold medal game in 2016 in the Olympics as well, and so they will try to salvage a bronze medal in the game coming up against Sweden and extract a little revenge for what went on earlier in the tournament as well. But this team's not about going out and getting bronze medals, so we'll see if they can get up for the task of at least medaling after the disappointing result against the team from Canada. And Canada goes for the gold medal and trying to resurrect something for that country and get themselves a surprising gold medal in women's soccer. And surprising as well, the U.S. men's national team gets themselves a scintillating win over Mexico in the Gold Cup final in Houston. It was the usual fantastic atmosphere that you have when the U.S. and Mexico get together. Lots of Mexican fans and a sellout crowd at Reliance Stadium in Houston. A good amount of U.S. fans, which creates an unbelievably rivaled atmosphere. And for the second straight Cup, the United States Cup final, the United States beats Mexico, and they definitely have bragging rights. This was not a game that the United States was going to dominate possession-wise. Greg Burkhalter's team really absorbed much of the pressure in the game. Mexico definitely had the carry of the play, but some good saves were made by the U.S. goalkeeper, and the United States actually missed a few good opportunities of their own, but finally broke through on Miles Robinson's header off a set play in extra time, and the United States was able to hang on for the 1-0 victory, and this was a big one. This was a team that came in really basically seen as sort of a B team. It was seen as a success, basically, that they made the semifinal round even, and certainly that they made the final, and then to take out Mexico, which was playing a really close to full-strength team. In fact, after the game against in the Nations Cup prior, 8 of the players who started that game started for Mexico, while only 3 of the players who started that game for the United States started in this one. So this was seen as a developmental squad. Gianluca Busio of Sporting Kansas City was part of this squad as well. And then they go out and they win the thing. So really monumental effort. And there's been a lot of people who've been critical of Burkhalter as the coach of the U.S. men's national team, but he certainly has created a lot of affection now, and certainly that's going to be quieted, well, at least for a little while, because that's always a hot spot as far as that is concerned. But a very exciting game to watch throughout. Always a physical atmosphere at these games, and a lot of tension, a lot of emotion, and Mexico views these things as national disasters when they lose to the United States, and so that's 2 of them in a row as the United States gets the victory 1-0, and they hoist the Gold Cup as champions for the 7th time, I believe that is. We mentioned the U.S. women, and that was part of, obviously, an Olympic weekend, which is chock full of whatever you like. continue to watch some table tennis. Track and field is cranked up, and I really, really enjoy watching that. And the 100-meter dash won by an Italian who was born in the United States, first gold medal for Italy. Remarkable performances all over the place, a world record set in the triple jump. And the reactions and the emotions, even though there are no fans in the stands, are quite amazing. And of course, I focus on golf a little bit on this particular podcast. You know that. And the Olympic gold medal goes to Xander Schauffele. It was very, very exciting golf tournament. Schauffele kind of had control all along, but then Rory Sabatini went out and shot a 61 on the final day as he was representing his adopted country of Slovakia, and he tied Schauffele at one point, but Schauffele came back, made a late birdie, and ended up winning the gold medal, parring the 18th hole under great pressure. And Sabatini got the silver medal, and then there was a 7-man playoff for the bronze medal, and it included big names like Rory McIlroy and the hometown hero Hideki Matsuyama. And I don't know if in a playoff you can ever call anything an upset because it's such a crapshoot anyway, but on the 4th playoff hole, after many others had been eliminated, including McIlroy and Hideki Matsuyama, C.T. Pan was able to get the victory as Colin Morikawa hit the ball in the face of the bunker on that last playoff hole, and I'm sure he can absorb the disappointment after just winning a major championship, but for C.T. Pan, an incredible accomplishment to get himself a bronze medal in a wild 7-man playoff, an incredible tournament, and really kind of fun, and I think probably elevating Olympic golf. I would say that absolutely is the case, and that was just part of the excitement of the Olympics. There's a lot of things around the Olympics that obviously have been controversial, including Simone Biles, who will now return for the balance beam and the final event that she could have participated in. She will participate in that after dealing with the twisties and also dealing with quite a bit of criticism from some quarters. And, obviously there's been a lot of COVID-19 issues and controversies, an American swimmer who refused to wear a mask when he was supposed to. And obviously a lot of people in Japan did not want these Olympics to even take place. But once you get down to the competition and watching that, it really is something to watch. And I know that this evening it's a full night of track and field on NBC, and I will be riveted to that. That is something I really, really enjoy. And this great sports competition is there. In this day and age, we're never going to escape all the things that surround the world of sports, but certainly the individual competitions themselves are really, really exciting to embrace and enjoy, and I will be soaking that up as the second week of the Olympics rolls on. But boy, did we have the good, the bad, the ugly, the up, the down, incredibly full plate of sports action over this weekend, and I hope you enjoyed me chronicling it. I hope you enjoyed it yourself, and getting into it, and we'll have all kinds of good things during the course of the week this week. We've got a music podcast, we've got another profile, all the usual things that we give you at DannyClinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent podcast, and at patreon.com/DannyClinkscale. So check all those things out and enjoy, spread the word, tell your friends, and we appreciate you coming aboard each and every time at the Reasonably Irreverent podcast.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like
Dillon's Heating and Cooling, treating you like family with expert and affordable HVAC services.